Hello and welcome to the Peverells Community Garden. This will probably be the first video I upload of the Peverells. It's an exciting project. It's one that has taken quite a few years to get there. So we've gone back in time, we've gone back to September 2022, but we've actually jumped ahead for you because there was stuff going on in 2020, there was stuff going on in 2021. The process was nearly 2 years to get the lease for this site, from identifying it, and then the long process during 2021, 2022 of actually getting the lease. So we got there, and I'm happy to show you through what we began with. So here we have the garden opening up into this large space. As you can see, it's very much a blank canvas. We've got those two beech trees, and we have got some growth coming over from neighbouring gardens and some growth at the back there. So from September 2022 into spring 2023, we were on a very limited budget. We knew we had a big amount of funding coming from our main fund that eventually paid out later, a lot later than we thought, but in March and April of 2023. We did have a funding in for making raised beds, but we couldn't make the raised beds until we had the other infrastructure in place. So that was just sort of sitting in the account, which was a frustration, but we knew it was going to be fine. We had this £250, which was a general float from Councillor Christine Brett of Lewes District Council. It was part of the chair fund that when she was chair of one of the committees, and she was able to allocate that to us, which got us through the winter. It mainly paid for things like a chain and padlock for the gates. It paid for contributions towards the use of the cabin, which is adjoining the site. You'll see that in future videos, but that gave us toilets, somewhere to boil a kettle, and when it was really awful out, it gave us somewhere to shelter. So that was really valuable. We made it through mostly on tools that I had from my gardening clubs, some stuff that I had personally. Volunteers brought their own tools, and we were donated some second-hand tools, but to be honest with you, most of those were unusable. But we got there, and we're looking now into when the funding lands. Okay, there's lots of spoilers here. March to August 2023. As you can see from the pictures, there's lots going on. I'm not going to go into that too much. I'm just going to mainly point out that our major funding from our main funder landed in March and April 2023. That came through Roots Rising, and it was the Ouse Valley Climate Action Fund. So we got our March and April payments, which meant that we could then actually get stuff done. We were able to get the fencing contractor, a local fencing contractor, to put up all the fencing and gates, which was really critical to securing the site, which is a term of the lease, and also we needed it to be secure in order to have tools on site. So that was absolutely brilliant, and we used this contractor because they're local, but also they came in at the same price as what the materials would have cost us to buy. So it was fantastic. We got that done, freed up a lot of volunteer time, and we did a lot of building construction. And the building construction was critical because we needed to tap off our buildings via gutters into water butts to have water to sustain anything we planted. So we couldn't plant a thing until we got our buildings up. And all our buildings were built by the volunteers. Absolutely amazing. We're a bit behind we're a lot behind for this year, but there's still great things happening. We've got a fantastic group of volunteers, and I'm excited to show you what's behind this gate. As I mentioned, we had the gate and the fence that's behind you put in. That was the first thing to be put in. Then there was a load of chain link fence along there, so we had that fencing put in and a gate for deliveries because there's a car park behind there. So that's been really useful. As you can see, we've had some compost delivered, which is really just soil improver. It's stuff which has come from the green waste bins from the local recycling centre. So basically when everyone takes their garden waste to the tip, it goes in, council take it away, or rather the council contractor takes it away, which is Viola here. They fast compost it, and then they very kindly, as we're a community garden, donated the compost. We just paid for the haulage on that one. We've got some branches and bits down here which are there for projects, so we're going to work away for that. But what's going to happen is we're going to have floating plant beds all the way along here. There is the original gate, and all the way along there we're going to have ground level beds. So if we take a little walk, so as you can see here, here's one that was made this morning of one of these raised beds, and these are 3 foot by 3 foot or 1 metre by 1 metre, and they will be planted up. We'll basically turn the turf over at the bottom, lay some cardboard down, and then they will be planted up like these. So if we go through, so here we have a gooseberry, and you can see there what we've used, and you see where the cats have been digging probably as well. So what we have there is a mixture of the council soil improver, so it's just really their fast compost, some multi-purpose compost, and some we use some 6x, a little bit of 6x feed there because we had some. So that's that there, and we've got all our fruit going along with these. You can see we like our long grass. We're doing different levels of grass, although we do have to mow a few shorter areas and some paths shortly. You can see our lovely beech trees. Here we've planted a few bits to complement what was already here. So we've got, if I zoom in, hopefully it will let me zoom in. So what we have here is a salvia called Hot Lips. It's got a red and a white. Matching this salvia in planting schemes can be tricky, but we have some Parthenocissus there. So and that's just turning red at the moment. If we go over and have a look, so we're going to get some fantastic colour from that. This will be a sea of red all along here. It is incredibly invasive. I normally recommend people not to plant it, because what you'll end up is with it in the grass, and then if you put the cuttings anywhere, it will just sort of spread through that. So just be careful. It is listed as an invasive plant with good reason. We've also got behind there, which again we inherited, some lovely species Fuchsia. So there's lovely Fuchsia behind there. So we've got, again, we've got that pinky reddy colour playing off the Parthenocissus through to the Fuchsia, and then we've got a pink, it's actually a false Fuchsia, this one, or a Cape Fuchsia. There's lovely pink colours there that we planted these two as well. So we've got a lovely sea of reds and pinks all here, and we plan to plant up this grass area a bit more, make sure they're non-invasive plants. We don't want them spreading through the grass through the site, But that's the plan there. We've got our ivy here, which we're kind of just letting it do its thing there. It's great for wildlife. This one has some variegation to it, so you might see, particularly in this dappled light, it looks really interesting. It's got this slight white variegation, this coloration on the leaves, and yeah, like I say, it's disguising the damaged fence which belongs to next door. Got some pots there of cordylines and phormiums and various plants. These are actually my winter pots from home, which we brought up just to make the corner look nice for a few special sessions that we had. They will be going home, but we might do some propagation and some tidying up on them first. Here is our tool shed. It's a beast. It's 10 foot by 10 foot, and we've got 2 water butts running off of that. And here is our composting area. We love our composting area. This is the sort of working area at the moment. You can see lots of bits of timber and split pallets and wheelbarrows full of this free soil conditioner we've got. Again, another piece of fence we put up, and the other tree there. We've got a working table in the centre there, this grassed area. We've got, I know I'm alluding to this polytunnel because we're going in there in a second. Got a few pots again. Most of these are ones that I've brought up from home that some will stay, some will go back. We've got a planted up little area here. I'll explain more about this bed later, but this is a kind of temporary bed at the moment. And it's planted in a certain way as well, but these plants will be divided in autumn and moved elsewhere. But they were a kind of temporary thing for some events that we had. Here is the greenhouse. It's a lovely wooden greenhouse. Perspex panels here. So, because although we're a locked site when it's not being used, we still have to appreciate that there is a likelihood that there could be damage. So this was the best option. It's my little, we might squeeze through here with the camera stand. There we go. Here's mine and Miriam's little office in there, but also doubles as a potting station. It's a little bit warm in here today. Fancy that, August in the greenhouse being warm. So, and now we're going into the polytunnel. As you can see, the doors are fully open today because it is hot. We've got a lovely range of plants in here. These have only been in a few weeks, so they were plants that have been given to us by other people, and we just plant them in this raised bed that we've made. So if I show you the raised bed first, you can see that's the bed. It's made out of treated timber, but what they treat the timber with these days isn't particularly nasty, so it was fine for this bed. These are hugel beds, so actually under these is firstly a layer of branches, then leaves, grass, and then we put the soil improver in for a small layer of a few inches, and then we put a multi-purpose compost in for about 5 to 6 inches. And so we've got peppers, we've got tomatoes, and we'll bring you in a bit closer here to have a look. So we've got tomatoes there. Again, only been in really a few weeks. And these are what George made today. George is great. I give him a concept and he knocks it up fine. So these are for our cucumbers. Obviously we haven't got a lot of height for letting cucumbers climb, so yeah, they're just A-frames that are built with hinges, so we can pack them up, store them away, or change the how they sit. They're planted and they just thrown over really, and they'll attach themselves. They'll be quite happy there. We've got lots of cucumbers forming, but one big one there at the moment, which has grown really nice and evenly, which is fantastic. And what we have been doing is we've been running kids sessions on a Thursday morning during the summer holidays, and so they've been painting stones and writing the names on there, so we know what we've got. So it's a cucumber. We've got a little bug hotel that one of the kids' dads made, which is brilliant. So that's there. Hopefully we'll get some ladybirds in there, help control aphid populations. And this is a planter that one of our volunteers is building. This is what Emily's building here. And then we will plant this lemon tree in, which you can see is looking a bit yellow and what we call chlorotic, a little bit unhappy. Needs to be planted on, so we're going to plant it into this planter when it's finished with in a special citrus compost. It's on a pallet, so if we find we do need to move it, we can actually get something in there to actually get it out of the way. And then the rest is just grass at the moment. We plan to put some more planters in, but also this is a useful space if it rains for running sessions. Now this leads me on to tying tomatoes and a few bits about looking after tomatoes. Okay, so I've got these tomatoes here again. They've not been in very long at all, and they were pretty leggy and not in great shape. The thing we're mainly concerned with at the moment is that a lot of the outdoor tomatoes in this area are starting to get late blight, so that's one we have got to watch out for. But at the moment we're all good. These are indeterminate tomato varieties. I couldn't tell you what ones they are. They're all different. They were gifted. I mean, I could have a guess, but I don't kind of want to in case I get caught out. But indeterminate means that they just kind of keep going. They don't really have an inhibiting height like you will find with most bush type tomatoes, which are more of a bush, you know, sort of, they're not a single trained stem. They'll kind of stay to a certain size, as with these indeterminate ones, they kind of just will keep going until you pinch out the tops where you want them to stop, or you can just train them up and down, and they'll even, if you train them back down to the soil, they may then reroot and shoot up again. So that is something you can do. But what we're looking to do here is train one single stem ish. Okay, so this one you can kind of see we've got a bit of a forking here rather than just one stem. So what I'm going to do on this one is be bold. I could allow that fork, it's perfectly fine, but I'm going to actually take that out. So I'll just nip that out there. Now if it was early in the season and I wanted some more tomato plants, these are kind of further along, so I could actually just do a cut there, maybe take some of the leaf off, maybe even that one, and then just pop that either in some water to root, or try my luck just sticking it into some soil or into some compost and see if it takes. But we're not today, we're just it's too late in the season. What I'm going to do with this one is remove some of these lower bits and pieces, so I'm just going to let you come a bit closer. So here's the top of our plant, and if we do a bit of creaking with the camera stand we can follow it down to the bottom there. See, it's already got tomatoes on. With cordon style, we're kind of just going, cordon's really just a single stem normally, and what we're looking to do is promote the strongest stem and not have it too cluttered. So we'll remove these lower ones here, and you just remove them to the base, but not flush. There's a little collar you'll see, and you're coming just like that and leaving the little collar on there. So we're taking that. If you're removing branches and they've got spots on or blight or whatever, I suggest probably you want to put them in your general waste rather than with your household waste, rather than putting them into your compost. There's a little weed there, we'll pull that out. Now I've got to make the decision whether I want to keep these couple of lower ones here, and I think to promote airflow, reduce the chance of blight where water might splash up with spores, I'm going to take these lower ones, and that's kind of okay for the minute. I'm kind of okay with the rest of that. Now the other thing you're going to want to do with cordon varieties that you don't necessarily need to do with bush varieties is remove side shoots. So we come back up to the top here, there we go. So with the cordon, you're looking for the straight stem, looking for this, what we call the leader, and then you're working your way down trying to find the side shoots. Now what you might think is that this is a side shoot because it's coming out sideways, it's almost at a right angle on tomatoes, but that isn't, that's just a branch. The side shoots are these little things in this little crevice in this pit between the branch and the main stem. And there's a few ways you can remove that. You can use your fingers to pinch it out. You can use a sharp knife, but normally in the community garden we're using a sharp pair of small secateurs because it's just safer. Always look where we're cutting, and we're just taking that out there. And that's the side shoot removed. When I'm explaining this to the kids, but also to many adults, and I call these the upside down armpits. So you're removing them, you're removing these side shoots from the upside down armpits. So the main reason we're removing our side shoots is to stop it putting lots of energy into growing these. It doesn't need them to sustain the plant. It will just be putting this energy into this leaf growth when we want it for our flowers and fruits. So that's one reason why we remove the side shoots. Another is to make it less crowded, so it's just using up less space and things like that. And that's the general thing for pruning in general, like I was pruning the bottoms there. It makes it easier to pick the fruit, creates better airflow around the plant. That's a big thing, is creating this good airflow where we're reducing perhaps chances of molds and mildews, maybe some blights. So that's another reason to remove them. There's quite a long list, but that's the main points on this. So we've done that. We've pruned round, and we've got the worst of them. The crowding taken care of. There's some lovely fruit on there, and you can see these have just been twisted round this piece of cord, this string here. Now this string is tied up at the top of the polytunnel, so you can see the tomatoes are tied up at the top there, and we'll do our creaky stand down to the base. And what we actually did when we planted these, they had a decent root ball on them, so we curled the string round and just popped the tomato plants on top of them. It was Miriam and one of our young gardeners, Lily, that planted these and did a tremendous job. Really, we are surprised how well they've done, and we water these every day to prevent the skin splitting and blossom end rot. And I think that daily watering from an amazing group of volunteers has made a tremendous difference. Also the venting of the polytunnel, you know, leaving these doors open has really helped. And just in case we weren't sure what they were, we do have maybe one of our kids at the kid club. I have a feeling actually that Eve, the kids club leader, may have been involved in this one. But there we go. So they're just stones that are painted, and we've got a good variety there. Now, one thing we need to do is quickly tie up this tomato. So, easiest way is maybe a bit of twine. You can get lots of different accessories from the garden centre or DIY stores, different metal hoops and things like that, plant ties, but string's nice and simple. We're just going to cut ourselves length of string, and the traditional way to tie tomatoes up is a figure of 8. So what we'll be doing is creating a loop like this, if I can show you. So just a little loop like that, and then we'll be coming around and creating another loop. Okay, so we're gonna get really close to the action here. You can see I've got my cord there, and we have been kind of twisting them round, but just to make sure, particularly when they start getting a lot of fruit on, that usually isn't enough. So what we've got here is we've got a stem here. I'm coming above one of these branches so that if the knot slides down, it stops on this branch. And here we go. I'm going to put my loop round there, round the plant, feed it like that. So you see I've just now got that with 2 even ends of string. I'll just put one over the top of the other, and then put that like that around the cord, and that creates a figure of 8 when I just tie that off. So I'm just again putting the string over that and through the hole, and just pulling it tight. Okay, and what I've got there is a little figure of 8. Now I'll trim that just to make it tidier and for you to see the figure of 8. There we go. I'm going to show you here the Ori method of tying. It's my surname. And what we're going to do is create a prusik loop on the string first. So we just make our just 2 equal ends, just make our little hoop at the end, and we're going to pass through the 2 cut ends onto the string like that once. You'll see it creates those 2 little circles. Then we're going to feed it back through again. There we go. So you can see our 2 little circles are now becoming more of a knot, and we're just pulling that tight. That's created what we call a prusik loop. This is what tree climbers normally use, and the idea is that you can put a lot of weight on it and it doesn't move, but then if you push it from underneath, it slides up or down. And all we would then do is just above our branch there, we do that, and we just create our little knot there. Just pull that tight. That's done, and I can just cut the ends but leave a nice long tag on each, just in case that knot slips a little bit. But there we go. So it's got enough movement so it's not constricted, but it's holding it in place. And if I feel like it needs to go higher, we can push it higher. If it needs to go lower, I can push it lower, and that's it. That is the Ori knot for tomatoes. Watering tomatoes. I advocate watering them daily. You're trying not to get the leaves wet, which is why we've been pruning the lower leaves. I'll have to probably do these ones after. And I like to give them a really good drink. Unlike the plants outside that I'll show you in a moment, that are more of about less frequent but heavy amounts, with tomatoes it's more about that daily watering, because what you're doing is you're trying to make sure that the fruit doesn't split. So if we zoom in on this one here, if you water your tomatoes infrequently, what will happen is the skins will split. Okay, or you might get blossom end rot, where the flowers at the bottom there, you will find that there's a sort of rotting in a cavity and it goes inside, and you might not notice at first until you notice a black spot in the middle, and if you cut that open it'll be rot inside, and that's a calcium deficiency, but it's kind of tied into infrequent watering. So to stop blossom end rot, what you want to do is to make sure you're watering regularly, consistently, but also feed. Because you're watering them regularly, you're washing a lot of nutrition out of the compost or soil, so you need to replenish that with a general feed. Now, with feeds with tomatoes, it's good to use proprietary tomato feed. There are different comfrey mixes as well. I like to use a tomato feed with seaweed extract. It's just worth that extra £1 or so, and that tends to tackle a wide range of nutrient deficiencies, because what you don't want with tomato feed is high nitrogen, because then all that will happen is lots of leaf growth. And what you will find with general plant feeds is that they tend to have a lot of nitrogen in. So to tackle blossom end rot, regular feed, regular watering. So that was the Peverells Community Garden. Thank you for making it to the end of the video. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you especially. It's one of my longer videos for my subscribers there. I normally do stuff from about 60 seconds through to about 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes for a masterclass. So I really appreciate you hanging in there. I hope it was valuable to you. I'd love to hear your comments. If you liked it, please like and subscribe. Check out some of my other videos, and I will see you on the next one.